Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about how to survive your UCAT test day. Now, I have sat the UCAT test 2 years in a row and I recently uploaded a video about how I improved my score the second time around to finally get an offer to study medicine in 2020. But today's video is going to be about the test day itself. I actually think one of the scariest parts about the UCAT is the uncertainty surrounding the test day. So the aims of this video are really to reassure you that the test day is not going to be as bad as you think it's going to be, and to give you my best tips on what I think you need to do before the test, during the test and after the test to make it the most bearable experience possible, if that's possible. If you are new here, my name is Lydia and I'm starting medicine in September. I have an Instagram page at Lydia Martin Medic that you can follow, where I'm going to be documenting my journey through med school, and do subscribe because from September I am going to be vlogging my university experience studying medicine. So if you're interested in my journey, then please subscribe. So let's start with things you need to do the day of your test before you get to the test centre. So the night before your test, easier said than done, but do get a good night's sleep. I definitely didn't sleep very well on the day of my UCAT test. I'm just the kind of person that gets really bad insomnia when I'm nervous about an exam. Just sleep as much as you can if possible. You know, do everything you can before bedtime to make sure that you can fall asleep quickly. Make sure that you are getting a good night's rest before, and if you don't, then in the morning when you wake up, if you haven't had a good night's sleep, do not worry, it's not the end of the world. Your test is going to be over and done with before you know it. You just got to put all your energy into it, and you can sleep when you get home, so don't worry. Now, the morning of your test, I do not recommend drinking coffee. I personally get really anxious after a cup of coffee, so even if you haven't had the best night's sleep, do just try and avoid the coffee. Maybe have a nice cup of tea, like a weak cup of tea, or a green tea to calm the nerves, or a nice big glass of orange juice. But avoid the caffeine, because I think the UCAT test itself is quite a nerve-wracking experience. You don't want to heighten those nerves if you can avoid it. Another thing to remember is to wear some comfy clothes and dress appropriately for the temperature. If it's a really hot day, make sure you're wearing some really loose-fitting clothes. If it's a bit chillier, definitely remember to bring a jumper or a cardigan. This is just a small thing, but just make sure you aren't too hot or too cold on the test day, because it's just an extra thing to panic about, so make sure that you are dressed well for the temperature. Next tip is to get to the test centre early. Now, I am notoriously late for a lot of things in life, so for me, I had to make sure I left for the test centre much earlier than my time, and I gave myself plenty of time to get stuck in traffic, get lost, go to the wrong room, all that kind of thing. I remember the first test centre I went to, it was really hard to find the room. You had to buzz for the right floor, and when you got up to the floor there was like 5 different doors, and you just want to give yourself enough time to be able to figure that out and find the correct place. So definitely make sure you give yourself more than enough time to get to the test centre, find the correct room, and also sit down when you get there and just have a minute to breathe. A really important thing on the test day is do not forget your ID, because you will not be able to sit the test if you do not have a form of ID to prove who you are. I took my passport. I think if you go on the UCAT website, you'll be able to find a list of all the acceptable forms of ID, so make sure you look at that before the test day. But that is just so important, because if you don't have your ID on the day, they will turn you away and you might not be able to rebook, and you probably won't get your money back for the test either. And another addition for 2020, not something I had to think about, but something you will have to think about this year: do not forget your mask, and make sure you go to the toilet before you get to the test centre, because I am not sure what the situation is with toilets, whether or not you are able to use them in the test centre. Please comment down below if you've sat the UCAT this year and you know, because I'm not sure. I also want to say, not all these tips are applicable if you're sitting the test at home. Obviously, if you are, you don't need to worry about getting there early because you're probably already there. So now I want to talk about during the UCAT test. There are a few things you can do to make the experience more bearable. Number one, most important, take a deep breath. When you sit down in that chair, when you're about to log on and start the test, just take a moment, pause, breathe. It's okay, it's going to be fine. And just remember to have that moment of pause when you sit down and start the test. Another thing is to treat every new section as a new start. So when you move on from one section to the next, just treat it as a completely new beginning. It doesn't matter what happened in verbal reasoning. Now you're focusing on decision making. It doesn't matter whether or not it went really badly or really well. This is a new section now, and if you think, oh my gosh, I've just screwed that up, doesn't matter, moving on, head in the game, you're going to be fine. Just keep focused, and remember, if you messed up on that last section, you've now got the chance to improve your overall score in this section. It is not over yet, so Every section is a new start. Remember that every section you get through, you are getting closer to the end of the test. Another thing is to remember to use the flag feature. If you have been practicing, you're probably well acquainted with the flag feature. If there's a question that baffles you, flag, move on. This is an important skill with the UCAT, is making that decision. Is this question worth my time? Nope, flag. You need to just be savage, skip those questions immediately because they're going to waste your time. It may be an extremely long paragraph in verbal reasoning that you might just come back to at the end, or it may be a quantitative reasoning question that you know is going to take about 1,000,000 steps to work out. Flag, not worth it. So your test is going to go really quickly. Those 2.5 hours are just going to fly by. You will walk out of the test centre. Somebody at the desk will be waiting. I would assume it's the same this year. Will be waiting with your score, and they give it to you on a folded up piece of paper. So it's an A4 folded in half, and your score is written down on that piece of paper. I'd recommend sitting down to open this piece of paper. You can kind of see the text through the folded up piece of paper, so the second time around I didn't look at the paper immediately, I held it away from my face. I think another really important thing to do is make sure that you've got something planned for that day, whether it's meeting up with a friend for coffee who you trust, or going home and having a pamper evening, watching your favourite movie. Just have something that you know you're going to go home to. Maybe you'll want to order a takeaway from your favourite restaurant. Just have something else planned that day that can be your little post-UCAT treat, because you've probably worked really hard in the build up to this test and you're going to feel this massive weight lifted off your shoulders after the test. So just have something planned for that day that you can kind of celebrate your hard work, because you will have worked hard. And finally, if you open that score sheet and it is not what you wanted and you're feeling a little bit disappointed, even if you come out with a score that you aren't happy with, there are still going to be options, okay? So do not worry. You may just have to reassess your plan and change some of your options on your UCAS form. At the end of the day, if you tactically apply and are wise with your choices, then you should come out with an interview or two. And if not, there is always next year. 1 year in the grand scheme of things is not a big deal. I sat the test, didn't get a very high score, was not very tactical with which universities I applied for, and unfortunately didn't get any offers and had to sit the test again. And now, 1 year later, I have got an offer, and actually I had a really good time in that extra year. And 1 year in your whole life isn't really a big deal. So please do not worry. And if you are sitting your UCAT tests in the next few weeks, then a massive good luck to you. I really hope you get the score that you need. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!